Good morning. So today, this video is going to be how to move on from the narcissist and how to heal and recover and start that process or go through that process. So first of all, the timelines for healing from a psychologically abusive relationship are definitely going to vary. Probably the biggest variable is how much time that you were with them. It can take months to heal from these relationships. It can take years. If you were in a long-term relationship with a covert, it can take a few years to heal. It's not uncommon. So here are a few ways to start the healing process. One thing you need to do, the first thing you need to do is to go absolutely no contact. That means block them on the cell, the email, Facebook, all social media, zero contact. It's also very helpful to go no contact, or very necessary to go no contact with their flying monkeys. That is their friends and family that are supporting the narcissist. Sorry about that. So typically, there could be some decent family members in these families, but typically these are narcissistic families that the narcissist came from. So they probably think that this behavior is totally acceptable in that family structure. They may think that cheating, lying, gaslighting, stealing, that's like okay. That may be that's totally allowable in that family. That may be how they learned how to be this way. But there may be people that are decent in the family and you may have had good relationships with them, but really it's very possible that any contact with them is going to it's going to trigger you. So you can set a boundary around that and you can just be honest with them and say, hey, I can't have any contact with you because I get triggered every time. So no contact with the narcissist, no contact with the flying monkeys. That's anyone who's supporting or validating the narcissist's abuse. No contact with the family if they are flying monkeys, or if you just get triggered by them. That's very important. And the second thing to note is that when the narcissist leaves your life because you left them or they discarded you, either way, there is going to be a hole in your life. There's going to be a missing, piece of your life, because especially if you were with them for a long time, it's a missing piece. And that happens in normal relationships as well, but there's going to be a portion missing from your life. You need to fill that hole up with good people, with good things. So fill that hole up with reconnecting with your friends. Get closer to your friends, spend more time with them. Make sure that they are safe, kind, good, decent people that understand what you've been through. You can fill it up by reconnecting with your passions. If you are an artist, start painting again. If you're a musician, start playing music again. If you're an athlete, start doing your athletic endeavors. If you like to hike or climb or surf or whatever you love to do, if you like to write, writing about the narcissistic abuse is actually very, very therapeutic. There's a bunch of online forums about that. It's a modality of artistic expression that can also help you to heal. So just note that there's going to be a gap, and you need to fill it up with healthy things, with passionate endeavors, and with wonderful things to start rebuilding your life after narcissistic abuse. Obviously, there is a phase that you're probably going to go through that involves like researching narcissism and trying to understand the narcissist, and that does have its place in the beginning. But you really want to make sure that your whole mental state is not taken up with that you're actually doing some focus on self-care and healing. One thing that I found very helpful for myself is going to Codependence Anonymous. It is an anonymous group for people that struggle with or identify with some of the characteristics of codependency. Whether you want to label it or not, the primary purpose of CODA is to have healthy and loving relationships with all people, or all the people that are in your life. So that's a very wonderful primary purpose, and there's a lot of tools in there that may be helpful for you. If your narcissist was also an addict, which is very common, the comorbidity of sex addiction, porn addiction, alcohol, drug addiction, gambling, all of those are very comorbid with the NPD, or with people that are high on the narcissistic spectrum. So if that's the case, Al-Anon may also be appropriate for you. That's another support 12-step recovery support group. If you found yourself dealing with substance abuse because of the trauma of being in this relationship, there's also 12-step recovery for substance use disorder, which I encourage you to go seek if that's the case. So, number one, no contact. Number two, you've got a hole, you've got to fill it up. I find a relationship with a higher power, as well as meditation and prayer or spiritual practice. Could be, yoga, could be church, could be, connecting with your spiritual community. I find that very helpful. I think that can be a very helpful thing to provide you some comfort and compassion and solace in this difficult time. So those are some of the things you can do. I know I've recommended this book so many times, but one of the best books I read of all of the books I read was called Whole Again by Jackson McKenzie, and it's very helpful to help you start growing and recognizing your part. And your part could literally be that you just didn't set clean, healthy boundaries, and you didn't love yourself or value yourself enough to notice that you were being abused or to put yourself out of an abusive situation. A lot of times people that find themselves in relationships with narcissists, they did have some sort of either narcissist in their family, or they had some childhood trauma that made them vulnerable. Sometimes that's the case. Not always, but sometimes. So, start to heal those parts of you. I highly recommend seeking professional help. I highly recommend EMDR therapy, especially with somebody who understands narcissistic abuse or being in psychologically abusive relationships or relationships with sociopaths, psychopaths, active addicts, anyone who's a manipulator. That sort of therapy, I found it very helpful. If you have complex PTSD or symptoms of complex PTSD, another helpful thing may be TMS. I did it. It's called transcranial magnetic stimulation. I found a free study. They actually paid me. I think I did 12 to 14, or it was 14 sessions, and that was very helpful for the symptoms of trauma and the complex PTSD on your brain. Another thing that may be helpful is Dr. Freeman has some courses from the Neuro Instincts Academy on how to reprogram your brain after this sort of abuse and actually what it does to your brain. And then for sure, meditation. There's the Calm app, CALM. And then there's also some free apps on YouTube, free YouTube videos on, meditations for trauma and complex PTSD. So I think those are very, very helpful. If you have insomnia, there's on YouTube, there's another one for insomnia for people that have trauma and PTSD. And then really start looking forward to your future. Start figuring out what it is that you want to do, what makes you happy, how you want to grow. If you got dependent financially on the narcissist and you're struggling with that, figure out what your career trajectory is going to be. Figure out what you want to do for a living. Try to, maybe explore going to university or, getting a job or exploring some new career that you hadn't considered. And these are all things. And I know that these are quality problems and, that we can have, a lot of us in the first world country. So I understand that for some of you, this isn't even an option. You just got to get the job that you can take right then and there. And I understand that for sure. But, start thinking about your life without them. And it's going to be, this is not the end. This is the end of toxic bullshit. This is the beginning of a gorgeous life for you. This is the beginning of a life that is going to be full of, beautiful pursuits, happiness, and joy, if you just start looking at it that way. You were in a psychologically, possibly, emotionally, sometimes physically, sometimes verbally abusive relationship. As long as you stay out of those kinds of relationships and heal, how could it really be that bad again? Really? So your life, you have this whole new opportunity to grow and discover who you are as a person and start embracing yourself and loving yourself as a human. You are valuable, you're worthy, you're lovable. Start believing that about yourself, and just recognize that that's the end of that era, and you did what you could do to survive it, whatever that was. You probably learned a lot of lessons from it. I know I did. I've learned some freaking kick-ass boundaries, or I'm learning them. It's still a process, but I'm learning how to really value myself, and I didn't in that relationship. I always let myself be beneath, and like that person was on a pedestal, and no, that was ridiculous. I'm just as equal of a human being as that person, and I let that person treat me like a slave or a servant or a wash machine, and that's not cool, and I'll never do that again. I will never be in a relationship like that where I don't value myself enough to set healthy boundaries and to know what I deserve in a relationship. And you don't have to either. So, start looking at this like this is the new beginning. You are launching into this beautiful new life. And I know if you're in the early phases of this, what I say right now does not seem even, plausible. You may be in this state of horrible anxiety and depression and trauma. I understand that. I was there. It is a process, but you are going to heal, and time is going to heal. That's one thing. Just the passage of time is going to help you heal and feel so much better. And this is a journey for you to figure out what's going to make you truly happy. I understand if you're getting out of the relationship with the narcissist and you have children together, or you're divorcing, that these are complications that make the no contact more difficult. You can do gray rock. There's a lot of good videos. I'm going to make some too on the gray rock method with communicating with a narcissist. Basically, these people don't have their own emotions. They feed on yours. They just get off on it. So any sort of communication with emotional content with them is like narc food. They're like, oh, this is a burger, I'm gonna eat it. And you can say to yourself, like, I'm not a burger, I'm not a milkshake, like I'm a human. I'm not a milkshake, I'm not a burger, and you don't get to eat me. So don't give them any emotional content. If you have to co-parent, there's apps that you can put on your phone where there's an arm's length communication, with the arrangement of the children and the custody situation, or the pick up and drop offs. Like, you can go gray rock, and it's I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. That means like no emotional content. Be the most boring gray rock, boring to the narcissist, because they're like toddlers. Like they only pay attention to you if like there's something they can get from you. Like I want some food. I want and you don't need to provide that for them. Like that's they're gonna go off doing that with the rest of their weird, unreal, fake relationships in the rest of their life. They're gonna be doing that, like making other people their victims, and you don't have to be a part of that. You are free. You, warrior, are free. And if you are watching this video, you are already doing a bunch of work on yourself to never get into these crapola situations again. And I'm so proud of you. It's amazing. So, do the work, get away. You're a warrior. You escaped. The rest of your life is really up to you. You get to make it amazing if you so choose to do so. So I'm just sending you, some words of encouragement, and hope that this makes you feel empowered, and hope that you can start this healing process and know that you're not alone, and know that you are going to get better little by little. As each day passes, you're going to get better, you're going to get well, you're going to thrive, you're going to be happy. So hope you have a great day. Thanks. Bye.